Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. After all these years, you're still obsessing over tricks?
Yeah, I think it's probably more now than ever, because
Why?
Well, all right. This is all me personally. It has nothing to do with the industry or anybody else or what people think of me. It's a mental battle / dialogue I have with myself every time I walk out the door to go skateboarding. And it has a lot to do with, am I an idiot for doing this? Like, I'm 50 years old. Like, I live my life sore and limping, like I sound like I'm 60 or 80 probably. But I mean, I keep moving constantly, even if I'm sore or not. That's the one thing I've learned after skating for this long is there are days when I just have to pile out on the couch and I'm just done. But for the most part, I have a 5-year-old, so I'm go with him all the time, my wife. So I don't have time to not be moving and going. So I just power through being sore and power through the pain. And I've done it for 30 years of my life, skateboarding.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks.
Yeah, good to meet you, man. Whoa. Dude, I'm
Submissive donut lifestyle. 3, 2, 1. Alright, let's do this. This is for Clementine and Otis. So, today's guest is Kris Markovich. Kris is a husband, father, artist, and iconic skateboarder. This week, Kris is with me live from his home in Florida to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Mr. Kris Markovich, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We got there, brother.
Are we there? We're good, yeah?
We're good. You sound great.
Good deal.
So we were just talking before we started recording before, and you were talking about, at 50 years of age, you're still obsessed with tricks. You're thinking about tricks,
right,
and you're obsessed with it.
Well, first off, I love skateboarding. I did take a hiatus, but it is what I've done more consistently than anything in my whole life. The whole, 50 years. I've done it for 30 plus with the hiatus, but it's just in me, and that's it. So I love skateboarding just in itself, and there's so much. It's given me so much in my life, and the older I get, and there's nuances about it that you find as you get older that I appreciate different things that a normal skateboarder doesn't see, But like now that I'm older, I start really like seeing. I appreciate those things. So my obsession now is, okay, I know that I'm 50, about to in a few months. I'm not trying to compete with anybody that's out there right now that's doing it. I just want to do, I know what a good skateboard trick looks like, and it doesn't have to be the newest, the hardest, the most technical. It just has to be done right, and it has to be done. There's so many elements to make the trick done right. You can make the trick in right away. 10 people can do it, and only one of them did it right and made it look right. And it's not like people say the other people did it wrong, but there's something special about that one dude. And if people don't really realize what it is, they know that he's really good. It's because he looks right. He did it right. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me now, I pick and choose. Before I would just go skate, and I was like a bull in a china shop. I just went, rah! Anytime I was on my skateboard, it didn't matter where I was, I just go off. That was just what I would do. It wasn't like, I'm just going to be mellow today. Some days I wouldn't even skate, and the next day I would just come home bleeding. I wouldn't stop until I was done, and it was just, I would just get the trick, and just keep skating. And that was just all about pushing our little group that we would be filming with, like pushing somebody, because you're filming with skating with 2 or 3 people, you're skating the same spot, they're trying something, you're trying something. So that becomes the focus, and you get hyped for them. And it's, it's a whole different thing, you know, and you kind of don't really think about doing the trick. You know, you want to get it clean for the footage, but that's it. So for me now, it's about doing the trick right, but how it feels. Like, it's gotta, like, I'll sit in my, like, when I'm going to bed, I'm laying on my head on the pillow, and I'll do the trick in my head over and over and over. Like, where am I going to set my foot on my board? How it's going to look as I spin? Where I'm going to put my shoulder when I land, and I have to point my truck to hit here. Like, I do the whole, like, I lay everything out in the longest possible, you know, sequence in my head, and do it and think about every part of that trick. And I know how it's going to feel. Like, I know if I'm going to be coming backwards down this thing, like, I want to land, and, like, my shoulders are going to do this, and I know what it's going to look like. I have it. And if it doesn't look like that when I do it on film, like, or it doesn't feel that way, then I'm not happy with it. Like, sometimes I'm too beat up and I'm too exhausted to even worry about it. But I'll do a trick. Like the trick I've been battling with, like, I landed a few times the other day, and it was trash because I have everybody's, oh, take it. I'm like, no, like, it's no, like, I don't, it's just, and that's that's just me. That's the way I've always been. So my obsession now is, it doesn't matter if it's what the trick is. It's got to be done right. And that's why I obsess over tricks now.
Would you describe yourself as a perfectionist?
No. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Do you know what I mean? No. I mean, maybe with my skateboarding, and not even my skateboarding itself, but my skateboarding that I choose to show people, to put out there. Like, if I put something on Instagram, or if I, like, there's a conscious, you don't go skating and your shit just shows up there. You know what I mean? Like, you consciously, whether like, for me now, I have to post it. Or if somebody's at the park, like, they get a different angle, they post it, and that's how it gets out there. And that's my little bubble of where it goes. Like, before, I had sponsors and they do ads and the magazines are behind me, and it was a whole different beast because I was doing it more. You know, I was in the game, and now I'm older, I'm with my family. I'm doing it on my own terms, having fun with it, and I'm dipping my toes in it. But now it's like, it's way, way less hectic, you know? So, but I mean,
yeah,
it's different now. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm trailing off.
No, I guess what I'm leading to is, does that mindset transition to your approach to art?
I think maybe this hopefully this will answer the question in there. Like, my skating, I don't like perfection. Like, so I'm not a perfectionist in that way. Like, I won't name names, but there are skateboarders that are just so unbelievably good and talented. But I mean, they don't sketch a trick. Everything is super, super perfect, you know? So people like that. I'd rather see somebody sketching and holding on for dear life, and then making the trick, and then you see their style come out of it. Then that's where you see what they really look like on the skateboard. Because if they make a trick bolts every time, everybody kind of looks the same. But if you sketch it, and how you regain your thing, that's your style. Like, that's what makes skateboarding what it is. Like, so, yeah, perfectionist it comes, all right, I would say perfection is in the imperfections to me. That's maybe the only way, that's the only way I can describe it, because I'm not a perfectionist at all, but I see perfection when things aren't perfect.
Now, after all these years of skateboarding, did you ever think that you would be desiring to produce footage at 50 years of age?
Absolutely not. If you'd have asked me when I was 48, I'd say absolutely not. You know, it was we moved to Florida, and it just happened to be, we moved a mile from the best park in Florida. It's free. I had all this energy, you know, I'm going to go skate again. So I think it was just coming here and seeing it and knowing that, because I've never really lived near parks. I've never been a park skater. You know, I've always been a street skater. I mean, I skated everything, but I just never gravitated towards that. So when it was there, it was really good. So any little obstacle was all there. I didn't have to go around and find it. It was a mile from my house, had everything that I needed, and it just became fun again. You know, I felt like I was a kid again, and I realized like not having it in my life didn't make me not who I was or was before. I wasn't happy. On a deeper level, like. So once I figured it out, and I mean, a lot had to do with me when I quit drinking. Because before I'd quit drinking, people would ask me, "You still skating? You still skating?" I'm, no, man. And I would almost make a joke out of like, "No way, man. My body is destroyed. Like, it hurts too bad to even think about skating." And then I stopped drinking, and a few months in, I had all this energy, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I got to do something with my life. I was driving my wife crazy. I was being man, and I'm not a gym dude either, you know. So I was not going to go to the gym. So like the first thing in my head was just go skating. Like my back, I feel actually I'm not hurting. Like my back's not always hurting. I'm like, and I felt better. So I started rolling around, and then when I actually realized I could do it, and I was having fun, like one of the first tricks I did that somebody at the park filmed was this. My buddy Buck filmed it. And we posted it on Instagram, and then like the Barracks picked it up, and it had like 70,000 views. And like the first, and I was like, "What? This is like, are you speaking? Did you sound muted again?"
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Sorry. Yeah. So like, the first thing back, it went kind of crazy, and like I was like, "Well, all right, well, people want," and then I started getting all these messages of people like, "Oh, so rad to see you skating again," yada yada yada, and then that was the icing on the cake because I was having fun. It was right next to my house, and then people, it's now looking at it, it gets me happy.
Are you surprised?
People are inspired.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by that response?
Absolutely.
From people.
Absolutely. I mean, because I didn't skate for those 10 years didn't mean I wasn't. I'm still. That's all I do. I watch skateboarding, watch magazines. That's all. I'm constantly watching it, so I know what's up, man. Yeah. So I'll always be.
Do you mind if we go into that 10-year hiatus a little bit? Was it a case of just being completely burnt out on skateboarding, or was it because you mentioned just sobriety? Was it because you're in a darker phase of maybe using alcohol?
No. It wasn't anything to do with alcohol. It was, I did a company. And I did it with my ex-wife, and my partner and my ex-wife butted heads. And that was the seed to start the split. And that was in 2008 to 2010. That happened. And in 2010, they were arguing, the fighting was going so much, we couldn't resolve anything. So we split and tried to continue doing another company, my wife and I. And I was done at that point. And then
was that
it was Given? Yeah, it went from Crimson to Given, and then I was just done, and I was still skating, but I didn't want to have anything to do with companies. I was like, I don't want a company. I mean, the last 3 that I had been involved with were just down, and it weren't any of my, like, the Hollywood was the last one that I was with, and that was Todd Swank, and I didn't own any of that. I had nothing, and when that deal started going bad, I walked away, and then didn't have any. I wasn't riding for anybody, and then I ended up riding for Blind. And once the Blind video was over, they went right back into filming a video. And the main thing for me to ride for them was they wanted to bring art back into it and split the company from the Reaper, all the Reaper kitty graphics. And they wanted to go back a little bit to their roots originally with Mark Gonzalez and do a lot of the art and the crayon logo that Mark did. And that didn't really happen. And I'm like, man, I'm a grown-ass man. I don't want these little Reaper graphics I don't want to have a Reaper doing something funny for every one of my graphics. Like, that's just not how I saw this going, and that's not what the deal was when I got on the team. That's not what you presented to me. Whatever. So we split amicably, and then I didn't have a sponsor. And I was starting. Me and my roommate were Charlie Thomas. We were talking about doing a wheel company, and then I tore my ACL, and then I didn't have a sponsor. while I tore my ACL, and it was 3 or 4 months of me trying to ride. I was almost riding, talking to people, but I'm like, yeah, let me ride for you, but I can't do anything for like another year or so. So no one really wanted to mess with me. And then the wheel company turned into us doing a company, and that became Crimson. And I put my everything into Crimson. I put my heart, my soul, like everything into that. And then for that to go south and not be my fault, but my ex-wife time, that was painful. And then trying to I don't even know. I just looking back, it's like embarrassing. I didn't want to do Given, and it was like we got to keep something going. We put a little bit into it, and then it was just once I was done, I was like, all right, I'm done with doing that. But I'm not really trying to ride for anybody. So I still had a couple clothing sponsors, all the smaller sponsors, and then it was like a light switch. Everybody kicked me off for being too old, and it was like boom, and that was all their excuse. And I understood it because I've owned companies and had companies and know how that goes. So I wasn't surprised. I was the only one that stung was Vistal when they said it. And I didn't care. It was like they paid me like $250 a month. It wasn't like the end all be all, wasn't it? But it was just the way they did it. And they were like, hey, not going to have you on the team and we're going to cut your pay, blah, blah. You're just too old. Blah. And then literally like a week later, their big announcement was Tony Alva's watch, like Tony Alva's signature watch. And I was just like, okay, gotcha. I get it. No disrespect to Tony, but he's 15 years older than me. So that I'm like, all right, cool. And so that happened. And then it was like, all right, I'm done with skateboarding. I'm not getting any sponsors. I'm over it. And then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just paint. And then it was kind of one of those, I kind of have to moments. I knew I was already in them. I'd already been selling art and doing art. So it was just, I remember it being one day when I'd hurt, one of the days that I'd skated in between, I had hurt my knee and I couldn't paint this mural that I was working on the next day. And it was the first time that had ever happened. I'd not been able to skate because I'd done stupid stuff doing other things, but I'd never not been able to skate because I was hurt from doing something else. And I was, I couldn't paint. And that was then I was mentally like, all right, wait, I can't go paint and I can't skate. This is insane. I've always had one that's when the excuses started coming in. It hurts too bad. I'm too blah, 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 And then years later, that went on till about, my son's 5 now. So he was born in 2017. So
congratulations.
Thank you. On his second birthday is when I stopped drinking. And it wasn't towards the end, it was more of a sleep thing for me. I'm a horrible sleeper, insomnia, just years and years and years.
Same here.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you can't hear. You're pointing at your mic. I was like, you can't hear again.
Tech issues.
Yeah.
No, I can hear. Sorry, keep going. This is really interesting.
Yeah. So for just being on tour and being in hotels and vans, my sleep pattern has been off forever, and I haven't slept well since high school. And this is my son. Come here. He has to. You say what's up?
Hey, man.
Hello, world.
How are you?
Oh.
Hello from Australia.
He's in Australia right now. Okay. All right. Now go back to mama.
Okay.
I love you.
Oh man, isn't it amazing, hey? How wonderful.
Yeah, I'm in awe daily. Half the time I'm like, me and my wife, we made that. We say that to each other all the time. We made that. We did that. We didn't do it. We know the Lord did it, but we're insane. And then half the time I'm like, how have I kept you alive? How are you still alive? How have I not let you, after having him that first month, all right, we kept him alive for a month. Yeah. It was like a month. I was, I don't know, terrified after having him. So no, my first kid. So it's always definitely life changing. It's the best thing that ever happened to me for sure.
And prompted you to maybe, I guess, were you sort of saying that maybe the drinking wasn't a problem? It was just you wanted to just be the best version of yourself because of your son.
definitely a problem in the sense of just I'm looking at it now. The way my outlook on drinking now is it's a problem. Just casually to me, it is like I don't judge people for it, but for me, I just see how much time I wasted of my life, drinking. And again, I'll go back to the sleep thing, like being an insomniac for that long. Like I remember the last few months before I quit drinking, we were moving out of our house, getting all of our stuff into storage, just planning an East Coast trip. We just had a lot going on the last month. A lot of things loose ends had to be tied up. And it was kind of I was going out to stay with Bam and paint at Bam's house. And it was like the calm before the storm, but the calm was our calm was the storm, because we went into it. Bam's was just mental, but so we had all that stuff going on, and it was just like every night I'd lay down. What do I got to do? I don't know. And then just spin, and I would just stand up and go to the kitchen and start and then pound something, whatever. Probably usually Jack Daniels, just bam, and then lay down, sleep, maybe pass out for a little while, wake up, feel like trash, and then just get gross, and then I'd end up, have a drink, and it's 1 o'clock, so I'm not doing anything, and it's kind of was like that, not like overly. No one knew I was drinking, kind of thing. My wife knew we would have drinks, but it wasn't like I was a mess sloshing around alcoholic kind of stuff. It just kind of became like okay to have a drink. It'd be 3 o'clock and be like, "You want a beer?" And something like, "Yeah, okay." And like that's just gross to me now for me to do that, And it was just anytime it was okay. Anytime we'd eat, someone would be having drinks. But I digress. Back to the sleeping. I hadn't, I was still doing that, and that was my pattern. And then when it was Ransom's second birthday, we were leaving to drive across country to head towards Renee's family from San Diego to Richmond, Virginia. And it's a normal thing to get to the hotel after driving 10, 12 hours. Before you get your room, you go to Walmart and grab a bottle of wine or the liquor store, whatever's there, because you need to get to the hotel, eat dinner and unwind and have a glass, have a shot, have whatever to knock the edge off the caffeine that you've been drinking for 9 or 10 hours in the car. So it's like, it's a vicious cycle. And by the time you get, I've done it so many times that I didn't want to do it again. By the time you take that road trip, your judgment in the food you eat goes down the hill. You don't care what you're eating. So you're stopping at every gas station, eating nachos, eating the crap that's just right there because you already feel like crap. And by the time you get to the East Coast, you're just a pile. Everything's terrible, And this is different because it's, I'm with my family, my wife and my son. So I was looking at it. That was one of it. But at the other thing I didn't want is after the stressful months that we were having, everything we just gone through, we're going to be in a car for 5 days with a 2-year-old and the dog. And that's like, you can laugh, whatever. It's a shitty situation, but like that is very detrimental to a relationship, like a family. Like it could have gone either way, and I didn't want to I didn't want to add anything to that potentially happen. So I didn't want to drink, so I could at least be clear-headed and at least, I can make better decisions on what to eat across the way. So when I get to the East Coast, I'm going to feel okay. I'm not going to feel like I don't want that feeling again. So we got to Renee's parents, and it was a week that I didn't drink. And then we were there in Richmond for a week, and then we were going up to Bam's. And then, that week, I'm like, I don't need to drink. I'm at her parents' house. I'm not doing this. So I didn't drink there. So that was 2 weeks. And then I'm like, all right, well, the first week at Bam, I'm going to be skating and painting. I don't need to be drinking. So that'll be 3 weeks. I'm just going to keep this going. And then once I got to Bam's, I kept it going. It was whatever, a month went by. I'm just going to keep doing it. And then about 3 months in, I remember waking up in the morning, and it was almost like one of those hangover moments where you wake up and you're like, what did I do last night? What time is it? Who did I piss off? Who's mad at me? Like one of those, but it wasn't everything was positive. I woke up and I was like, looked at Renee, I'm like, I don't remember falling asleep last night. She's like, yeah, you passed out early. I was like, really? Whatever. And then but I felt great. And I skated that day. And then that night I fell asleep again. It was like 9:30, between 9:30 and 10. And for like a week, I was like clocking it. I was falling asleep like clockwork every night without having to drink of melatonin, or to, like have a chamomile tea or take a melatonin or whatever. Like I didn't have to do anything like that. And I was just falling asleep, and I feel great. And I haven't picked up a drink since, and I sleep. I can go to sleep anytime now. Like, and it's amazing. I've slept better as of, since I was 47. These last 3 years, I've slept better than I have in 20 years.
Wow,
yes,
bro.
That's the main reason. So there isn't anything like I went to rehab, or I did this, or I crashed my car, or I got DUI. It's like, no, it was just, I've made a decision to stop drinking because I wanted to feel better for a week and not like potentially ruin my marriage by jumping in a car and driving across country. And then I think daily I was feeling better and better and better, not realizing it, but I was like, it had been the longest that I had gone without alcohol in years, and then it just became.
You were breaking.
What's that?
You were breaking a behavior. You were breaking a behavior pattern as well.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to undo that programming. Thanks for sharing that story about your sleep. I mean, it's so good for me to hear, to be honest, because I'm 45 and sleep has been one of the biggest issues in my life, And then I'm also someone who doesn't drink and haven't done for about 9 years now. And funnily enough, my sleep is only getting really good now after 9 years. And I found when I stopped drinking, my mind was actually working more because it's like, oh my God, I've got more, it's all awake now,
Mm-hmm.
And I really battled with that.
It's crazy.
Do you think?
Sorry, I was saying it's clarity is a funny thing when you think about it in that sense, because you are alone with your thoughts, not numbed. So you hear everything that goes through your head, and it's hard to deal with all that going on, because it's, for me, I don't know, it's like taking a shake up snow globe and everything kind of settles, like you gotta figure out, there's a lot going on. So for me, I had skating and art. So whenever anything was too much rattle going on, I would just, that's what I meant by having too much energy. That was the mental energy and physical energy. Because,
So you were able to channel it, right,
yes,
into those things.
Yeah.
So do you think if it wasn't for that mental energy you had, maybe it wouldn't have propelled you to where you got with things like skateboarding and art?
I think so. I mean, it's definitely been a driving factor for me, my inner dialogue, to keep me motivated in doing things. I'm my worst critic. My art's a little different. It took me a long time, because I always in my head I was a skateboarder. I'm a skateboarder. Yeah, I have a paintbrush. I'm a skateboarder that paints. And then when I wasn't skating, it was and it's again inner dialogue, inner mental madness that I have. It took me a really long time to even be able to say that I'm an artist, and say really? It's just weird. It sounded weird.
Why?
I don't know. I just, maybe pretentious. I don't know I don't know why. I don't know. Art's a funny thing, and it's a claim to say you're an artist, and
Well, I got a question for you then. Okay. How did it feel to see the this year's Tampa contest covered in your artwork?
I mean, it's weird because it didn't seem real. It still doesn't seem real, and it's not like it's such
amazing.
It's a huge stage, and it's Tampa. It's amazing. So there's one side of me that was like when I was there painting it one of the nights, because Brian gave me keys, because it's 20 minutes from me. So instead of Lucas Beaufort, who just did it this year, he flew in and had a small window to do it, and that's a big space. And I was lucky enough to live here to where Brian's like, here, just come in whenever. So I'd go in when they closed at 8 at night. I'd have the keys. They'd leave the alarm off when in the park where I was at, and I'd just paint, 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours, and then just lock up and go home. And I would do that a few times a week. So I had the place to myself a lot, and I'd put the music on. But there'd be nights I'd be in there. One of the lights are on, the fan's spinning, and there's no one in there but me. And I'm walking through there, just looking around, it's serious hallowed ground. So much has gone down in there. moments in history that, like, if you're not a skateboarder, you're not going to understand it, but the energy and the excitement and the just epic things have happened in that building. So to be in there, like, I like touched the walls and like, you know what I mean? Like I took it all in. So yes, there's that side of me that's just was like, this is amazing. Like, and it felt great to be, because I've skated a bunch, Tampa Pros. So to skate the contest and then years later come back and be able to paint it, that was like it's a cool full circle thing. And, so seeing it on the video game from that, when they use the course there's a Skater XL video game that he has the Tampa course with the art in it. So that was pretty cool. Like,
yeah, dude.
I don't know. During Instagram during that time, we're showing all the clips. So my feed was just like every other thing was my art, and I guess I got numb to it, and I just anytime I'd see that yellow, I would just keep scrolling, like, and by the end of it, I was like kind of sick of seeing it because at my whole feed, and then now I look back on it and like now anytime a clip comes up, now that it's changed, it's really cool because it was so bright, so big, so many faces, and it was like in my head I was like, well, they're definitely going to know that I was there. So that was kind of.
I thought it was. I remember when I first seen it, I was like, that makes sense. That's the tribute that should have happened to Kris Markovich a long time ago, in my opinion.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I feel like from Australia here, we don't know much about America really, but when I think of Florida, I do think of you in terms of skateboarding.
That's right.
And my question though is, are you hypercritical of yourself when it comes to art?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So when you were seeing all that stuff, when you seen your artwork at the Tampa contest,
I'm just seeing all the lines I messed up and the things I should have done, where I should have done, like this ramp, like, oh, if I'd have had 5 more minutes, or you know what I mean, like, whatever. But it's in the moment when I was finishing painting, I'm like, I don't want to see another paintbrush. I'm done. I'm not touching the paintbrush for at least a month. I don't want to go near paint. Don't ask me to paint anything. I'm done. And so it was a mix of emotions. Like, yes, I'm so happy to be over, and then sitting there watching the contest from different angles of the park. Like, that face should have been this long, or that eye's droopy, or I didn't fill that eyelid in, or that was what was going on. I was watching the skating, but most of the time I was looking at my artwork and seeing all the places that I had messed up. But
how interesting.
No one else would know. No one else knows any of that. Like my wife and I talk about it all the time. I'll say, "Oh, I don't like this part of this side," and she's like, "It looks great. Like, what are you talking about? No one. You're the only one that notices that." So,
do you feel like you're leaving a legacy for your son through your artwork?
I've never really thought about that. I would hope. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Again. Part of the reason why I started skateboarding again is I didn't want my son to only hear his dad talk about what he used to do. Oh, he's in these videos. Oh, back in the day. That to me is just dying a death every time he says it. Like, oh, he doesn't put it here. Let's watch that video again. And it's like, even if he doesn't skateboard, he loves skateboarding. He's still like, oh, a squirrel, and wants to do that. So he's not fully into it yet. He'll go to the skate park and he's getting there. So I'm just letting him do it on his own time. But even if he never touches the skateboard or goes near it, he's seen me do it and he knows that. So he can look back at the whole videos, but he sees me doing it now. So he's got a visual of it and knows that that's what his dad did. And he sees me painting. So I think maybe for him, I want him to see, like, I was 45 when I had him, so I was an older father. And even when I was 20, 24-year-olds' careers were over at skateboarding, So I have a skewed, my father was older too, so I have a skewed version of like parenthood and just adults, like older. I thought young people were really old when I was young. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like and still to me, like I look at a 50-year-old and I think, damn, that dude's 50. I'm like, oh shit, I'm 50. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I don't do 50-year-old things. Like I go skateboarding every day. My son and I were running around a water park, spitting water all day yesterday. You know, my wife and I, I don't do 50-year-old things. And I don't know. 50 to me was like a grandpa when I was a kid, you know? And I want to be like 50-year-olds now. There's so many old skateboarders, there's so many older skateboarders, there's so many older surfers. There's people like I don't know. I don't want to be that dude, but
I don't know. I feel like there's a resurgence. I think there's a lot of guys in their 40s and 50s realizing that, hey, I'm not done.
Yeah, you don't have to.
If I look after my body, I can still go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching the 9 Club a few weeks ago, and Justin Eldridge picked one of your tricks at that skate park. As they have this segment called Eldie's Pick of the Week. I think you do it's like a backside 270 to frontside nose blunt slide across that hip. I think was that the trick?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just sitting there watching it, and they're like, you know, you got Jerron Wilson, you know, Chris Roberts, and Justin Eldridge just going, Markovich, like, just doesn't stop. Like that, and they were like, that trick is still progressive for a 20 or 30-year-old. And it's as a 45-year-old myself, it's so inspiring. So, you know, I don't know. I think you're inspiring this new generation of older skaters having another shot at the title.
I mean, maybe that's something that I can give back to skating or give back. Like it's funny to say like this, not even like since I started this journey of skating, it's nothing like that. It's not like since I went, it's like no preconceived thought. It was just like, there's a skate park, I need to go skate. And I went and skated and then it started happening, you know, but
it's amazing.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, on Instagram the other day, I put out a question to people and said, I'm recording with Kris Markovich. Just shoot me some questions. So do you mind if I ask you some listener questions?
Here we go.
Now, obviously, some stuff from your world days has come up. So I've got a question here from Darren Caney. He's asked, can you tell us one of your favorite Rocco stories? Rocco comes up a lot in a lot of these things, but
Rocco story. I mean,
do you have good memories of that?
Yeah, I do.
Of that time?
I do, and that's the thing. Like, I have a. So here's what I'll say about Rocco. I was on his good side in the sense of like when I met him, I was a skateboarder. I got on the team, and he had it was a madhouse. It was a circus. Everybody, you know the world, how many riders he had, and they were all young, 15 to 17. Like, here's a ton of money, go act like animals. Like, that's basically what it was. And you know, Steve, he was a beast. Like, but if he was on your side and you were working with him, you know, it sounds lame, but I never saw it that way. Looking back on it, that's exactly how it was. You know, like, I was just on his good side. He didn't turn any of his shit towards me, you know? And I don't know. I've seen him do some really, really raw things, but I've also seen him do amazing things. You know, like my Rocco story, and it's not going to be, it's a good one, is we went on a Prime tour up the West Coast to like Seattle, and we were going to kind of go around Oregon, Washington, and just drive down. And they had the team van, and then he came up in his Land Cruiser. And it turned into, for me, because he knew I played golf, there's a bunch of really nice courses up in the Pacific Northwest. So it was a skate tour interspersed with the dudes going and doing random shit during the time off when me, Mark, and Steve would go play golf on these courses. And we'd play these like courses where we'd get there and Steve would have to buy us outfits because we didn't have the proper attire because we were skateboarders, you know, and he's spending like 5 G's at this course so he can get the tee time just because he's like Steve and wants to play that course because he's in the state and he's going to make it happen, you know. And so things like that he did a lot. Like I don't know, he would just give you the keys to his car and tell you to go to the store, and you're just 19 whipping a 911, brand new 911 Porsche to the store, and you know, just stuff like that. He was really, for me, I had a good experience, and you know, I've always respected him as a businessman because skateboarding's funny and people are funny. Like, business is business. It's not a friendship. You don't have to be nice in business. You know, skateboarding likes to think like, oh, we got to be, you know, we're a skateboarder all together. No, every company, everyone internally, it's not as friendly as you think it is, you know, and everybody's, I don't know. I'm negative. I don't want to go down that route. I'll be quiet.
No, and I'm sure it's bittersweet. You've had such a long career. I guess a question I want to ask you again is, and I asked you, we talked about it before we started recording. It's like, if you had your time again, because you were so pivotal in those early 90s. It was like such a developmental time for skateboarding, and you rode for like literally the best companies, and under the world banner as well. Because what would you do differently though, looking back? I'm really curious about that. In terms of career moves,
I see 2020 hindsight always, obviously, you know, looking back, I can see like, yeah, this, I would have done this or this, but that it's, I wouldn't change anything. Like everything that happened at all those companies and everything that's happened in my life, you know, there was a reason why I left. I learned. And then when I got to the next place, I was able to take what I learned and know not to do that again, you know, and not to. So I've learned a lot. I've learned hard lessons, you know, for doing that kind of thing. But I mean, it's learning what not to do is very, very important, you know, and I've had the opportunity to do that. But there was a reason that I left every one of those situations into the next one, you know, and it's made me who I am today. So no, I can look back and say, yeah, this should have been done differently. I would have done this, and I would have done that. I would have done this. But any one of those decisions, changing those, would have changed something down the way, and it would make me. I wouldn't be who I am today. And we were saying earlier, like I'm in a really good place in my life. I have a beautiful family, my wife, my son. Like I wouldn't change that for anything. I wouldn't, you know, butterfly affected in any way. You know what I mean? Like to change one little thing. Who knows? And like I said, my family is perfect. My wife and my son are my world, and I wouldn't change a thing about them. So that way, and in that aspect, no, I wouldn't change a thing. Every fuck up, everything that I've wrecked, every argument, everything I've done, I mean, I did it. I've got to own it, you know, and I do, and I will. And so.
Is this the happiest stage of your life?
Absolutely. It's scary as all hell being, you know, an artist and having a wife and a son and trying to provide for your family and I don't know, who knows what's going on in the world now, you know, but being an artist, like you're the first barometer, you're a good barometer of what the economy is, because when people are spending money, then people are buying art. But when people aren't spending money and people are, okay, we need to hold back on our money, that's luxury. The first thing that goes, nobody's buying art when there's like, you know, I don't know, inflation right now. You know, there's different things like people. I'm the first. It's right on the front line. So like it's scary, but I wouldn't. I love it, and I love. Like I said, I love my family, and I'm able to. It awards me the time to be able to enjoy my son, and it's funny because you hear, "How old's your son?" He's 5. Oh, enjoy that time now because it's gonna blink and they're gonna be gone. I'm like, I know that, and I believe me, my wife and I say that every day. We don't. We're very conscious and very aware of how blessed we are, and we both, you know, our schedules a lot of times where we can spend. We don't have to put him in daycare. We're with him all the time. We're homeschooling him, so It's like we want to be with him, and we're blessed to have that time and blessed to be able to do it. So, you know, I'm definitely the happiest I've been in my life for sure.
Like just talking about your art a little bit more, how have you had to, or how have you adapted to this changing world in order to stay relevant and financially practical in this world with your art? Like what are things you're doing to help it? Obviously your art's great, but how are you making it, you know, sustainable for a living? What are you adapting to?
For me, becoming more not digital based, but I've shunned away from prints. I haven't done much merch. I've always just done my art, my hand painted stuff. So there's not a lot of like merchandise stuff out there. So as of late, I've been kind of going into that a little bit more, but
like NFT.
Well, that's not that I can't, but that's what I've been working on for the past few months is figuring out. Like I could have just made a few and put them out there right away and just made NFTs and had them and done them. But for the last, 6-8 months, I've had people tell me, you got to do NFTs, you got to do NFTs. And it's the buzzword, everyone NFTs. I'm like, I don't know what NFTs are. And I'm not going to just do something and just put it out there and be like, oh, hey, I don't know what it is, but here you go. I made it for you. Like, so I wanted to learn. And my wife is at the same point she was having clients of hers talking about, cryptocurrency and NFTs and this and that. So she's like, everybody's talking about it. People are telling you to do it. So I want to learn about it. And she's just been like a beast with it, like learning as much as she can, watching, following things. She knows she's constantly like, so she's like in it now. Like she's fully invested mentally and learning and doing it and grasping concepts. And so for the past couple months, 2-3 months, like I've been right alongside of her doing my own thing and trying to figure out ways to make it make sense for me. But that's that's where, and it's funny because it is so new that no one really doesn't have a set thing. You know what I mean? It can be anything. You can do any. So it's such a blank canvas right now and so young. It's exciting. So I'm trying to learn it as much as I can about that world. And it's scary because I'm not that dude. I'm not a computer dude. I'm not, I'd rather.
It makes a lot of.
I use it as a tool. That's what I want to have it as. But I don't want to have it. I don't want to live in the damn thing. I don't want to live in the metaverse. I don't want to do that. I like the real world. Real world's big enough. I don't want to go live in another one too.
It does make sense for an artist, though.
No, it fully does. It makes sense. I'm just saying, that was my old look. I was asked with computers, like. And social media, I'd always be like, well, not on social media for like a week. And people are like, where were you? I didn't say. I was like, I was actually living my life. I wasn't posting about it, like I was out doing it. Like, so I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with it, but yeah, it's becoming more just tech savvy and more like on the digital side. That's what's carrying us into the future for sure for my art.
Yeah. But it gives you the opportunity to express yourself creatively. And it's the same.
Definitely. And another thing, this is it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. And so I've got skateboarding, and if I get hurt skating, then I've got my art, I got painting. But if I'm too sore to paint, and even if my knee hurts painting, then I've got my computer and I can just lay like a vegetable and I can make art on my computer. So like, you know what I mean? And so I've got a third outlet. That's how I have to look at it. Like if I'm too sore to skate and too sore to paint, but I'm still spinning wheels and need to get something out, then I can draw on my computer.
That's right. That's so rad. Hey, I'm going to hit you with another listener question. Jeremy Rowling asked about your modeling career. Were you a model? Did you model for Calvin Klein or something once?
Yeah, well, I rode for Calvin Klein eyewear. I didn't model for him or anything, but they had eyewear and I was on like this weird thing. That was there, but I did, no, I wasn't, I didn't have a modeling career. I went on a commercial shoot in LA and it was for Robert Mitchum. I don't know if you remember that actor, but it was like a documentary about his life. And there was, I guess he spent a period of his life. Have you ever heard of Bruce Weber, the photographer? It's like a famous male photographer, like fashion photographer. So he was shooting the documentary, and I went up for the commercial shoot. And when we were filling out the forms or whatever, I pulled out my wallet, and my mom, we had tea bags at the time, and I had this little Velcro wallet that my mom made out of all the leftover materials. So I pulled that out for my ID, and the photographer, that Bruce Weber, would happen to see it and be standing there, and he was like, "Oh, where did you get those?" or whatever. Told him and gave the lady a card for him. Whatever, and then that was it. I left the commercial, went home, and then a couple weeks later, my mom, they got a call at our house, and this is like answer machine time, like early 90s, before cell phones. So she got a call, and it was somebody from the modeling agency that was doing something that worked with Bruce Weber or whatnot. And they asked for my mom. They wanted to see Polaroids of me because he remembered me at the shoot, and they wanted to possibly see if I would work, whatever, for this Ralph Lauren campaign. And so we sent Polaroids, and then I got the job. I did a Ralph Lauren campaign like up in Santa Barbara on some ranches and shit. And then that was one. And then I did like a double RL snowboard, like their snow gear up in Tahoe. Went for like a week snowboarding. So, I got paid a lot and got to go snowboarding. But that was it. It was just 2 photo shoots, and that was it. No model career.
But was there a period of time, though, where you were just overwhelmed with opportunities? These things would pop up regularly, like brands wanting you to ride for them.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
It wasn't overwhelming to where it was like, there's so much shit going on, I don't know what to do, but it was like, I look back at it now, like later. So I'll just put it like this, and maybe this will explain it. So best way that I could say it. Like if I wanted to start a company now, like let's say I wanted, I don't know, I could say I wanted to start a surfboard leash company, right? Back then, let's say in 97, 98. Like that's kind of the height when I was doing everything, like filming everything. I had all whatever, traveling.
Yeah.
I could have just said I wanted to do a surfboard leash company. And
gotcha.
Somebody at the company I wrote, there could have been 2 phone calls made, and I would have had people, it would have just already started, the ball would have been rolling, and it could have done. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to do that, I've got to like knock down, I got to find everything. It would become on my shoulders for me to do it, and I would have to convince people to buy this leash and get on board. Whereas there's already at that time, there's so much going on around you company-wise. You have like such a team around you of people that you don't even realize, because you've got your board sponsor, your truck sponsor, your wheel sponsor, your clothing sponsor, your shoe sponsor. All those people are all talking you up to other people and trying to do as much as they can for you. So you have this team that you don't even realize that's like fighting for you and working for you. So at the time, like it wasn't like I could have just done anything I wanted, and I kind of did as far as starting things, different people and different stuff. As you can tell, a lot of them didn't work out because I was like, yeah, let's do it, whatever, without really even, putting too much thought into it, who I was working with. But
yeah,
it was just fun. It didn't really matter at the time. You weren't like, oh, we're starting this business and we're putting our life savings into it to where like, if we don't make it, like it's detrimental to somebody's future. Like it was never anything like that. Like we're starting a wheel company for skateboarding. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like we were, I don't know, saving lives. It was like, so we're not like, it wasn't like anybody had their life savings into this. So we did a lot of dumb stuff, company wise.
Which board company do you feel like you most belonged? If you had to pick one.
That's a good question. Most belong. Color.
Yes. Awesome.
I would say Color.
I used to love that.
Because Color transferred into Prime. It was supposed to be this. Yeah. Color turned into Prime. And the Color was awesome. And then just a lot of the back end stuff with the money backer. Like it was Mark Oblo and I that did the company. And we partnered up with Rich Mediver from Union Wheels. And I always got along great with Rich. I had not a problem with it. And it was a surprise to me when the split happened, when it's not a surprise, but Oblo had to do the day-to-day dealings with Mediver. Like Mark and I'd be skating, Mark was filming, he was a filmer, but Mark would also be the one that would be the liaison between the team up to Mediver. So if we had our graphics, we'd tell Mark the graphics that we wanted, and Mark would have to talk to Mediver and facilitate it. So Mark had to deal with Mediver daily, get our packages sent, get this sent down, just those kind of things. And unbeknownst to me, for months, he and Mediver were just at each other's throats. They weren't getting along, and they were so. It finally got to a point where Mark was like, "Man, I can't work with this dude anymore." Blah 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 blah. And then that was the start of us splitting and then going to Rocco and then basically doing color at Rocco, but he wouldn't let us have the name, so we had to change to Prime, and then that's when it switched to Prime, and then it just lost its. And then it then became something different. Didn't lose anything, but it just became something different. And color,
so delicate.
Yeah, so it was like, again, I left Color, which is the company that I'd started, my first one, and then it was. I could have stayed and been on Color, but Mark was leaving. All the other dudes were wanting to leave because Mark was leaving. I wasn't going to stay behind, so we just uprooted and went and tried to continue. And we did. We continued to make Prime, and Prime was red.
That period of time, I remember the Color video, then the Prime video, and I think it was the Union video as well. I think they all sort of happened really close to each other.
Yeah, they were all, it was Union, then Color, which were like boom, boom, and then the Prime video came out after that.
And over the course of your life, you've had so many video parts. I'm going to put you on the spot. Like, which video part are you most proud of? On a personal level, I'm not necessarily talking about which was the most popular.
I would say Prime.
Which one?
The Fight Fire with Fire. Only because I had a purpose for that part, like a direction for, not a direction, but more of a purpose, a personal thing where I wanted to try to be as technical as I could be for, and still do, because that's the most I've ever flipped my board in a video part, I think. Like, I jumped down a lot of big stuff, but I flipped into manuals. I think it was 94. So at the time there weren't NVDs or anything like that, but there weren't a lot of people doing those on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like they were groundbreaking, the newest first time you'd ever seen them, but for me and somebody that skates like me, that was special for me, I made it a point to be technical, and I think it kind of came through in the part. But then there's the foundation video. I'm proud of that one for another, and then our audio video. So there's I have little bits and pieces of different reasons why I like different ones. Most proud, I would say Prime.
I'm really intrigued by you because I just don't, as much as you're talking about this stuff, I just don't get the sense that you are living in the past.
No,
I get the sense. No, I really sense that, but it would be so easy to, considering the amount of work you put into all those different video parts. I find it really, really interesting.
It'd be easy to do that, and but I think you become bitter maybe. And living, I don't know. I don't want to live in the past.
Is there spikes of bitterness though sometimes?
No. Dave, no, I don't know. I love skateboarding and I love my time in it. And I love everything that I got. No. There's things about it that I think are gross that have always been gross, but I think that just goes with anything you do. I think it's there's gross stuff. There's gross things in everything. You know what I mean? So I love it. I love skateboarding. And
I know.
No, good.
No, so I got another listener question, and again, Darren Caney asks, "Who's your favorite Australian skateboarder?" And then he wrote, "And why is it Al Boglio?"
And why is it Al Boglio?
Yeah,
that's fun.
So can you answer that? So what's he alluding to there? Who's your favorite skater? But he's sort of then saying, "Well, why is it Al Boglio?"
I don't know. That's a weird one. I love Al Boglio though. Al was he's the best. That dude's style. When I first saw him, 90. I don't know. It had to have been 93. I don't know. I just remember skating with him, and he had the best switch pop shove it. And I don't know. Then he was awesome. He's just a rad dude. I don't know. Yeah. So It is Al Boglio because he's the best. No, he was the smoothest dude. Skating with him, he was always super smooth. I don't know. I had fond memories of him and Christian hanging out, Christian West, for the whole time. The Prime video, those dudes were awesome. I don't know.
So cool.
Fond memories. Yeah, Australia is I don't know. I didn't go there too much later in my career, but early in my career, I went a few times, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and it was I loved it there. Like my favorite place to tour.
Yeah, I'm gonna just relay something to you. Like I've had a lot of different people sort of referring to a demo you did in an area of Sydney called Manly back in '94.
Mm-hmm.
At this place called Curl Park, and it was so significant for Australia at the time because I think it was like all you world guys. It was like you. I think Costin was there.
That was a big book. I remember that.
Yeah, and this particular skate park, it was like really the first public skate park, I think, that was decent. And I think it was just such a big moment for that generation. And a lot of people keep bringing it up. Like, do you remember the demo in '94 at Manly?
Okay, so Manly is super tight, small bowl corners. Is there a spine?
Yes, too.
Spine into a spine? I remember it being.
Yeah,
I remember Kareem doing an alley-oop blindside kickflip and tripping out because it was super, super tight trannies in that place. Manly, I remember silver coping, like kind of white.
Yeah, white. Yeah, and it had like a nipple thing that I think Kareem.
I know. I remember. I remember that.
You're talking. Because I guess my question is that this is where it's interesting for me is that all these people remember that it was a significant moment and you had an impact on those people. Are you aware of that impact? And do you remember like these things? Do you remember a lot of the demos?
I do. I remember different. I don't remember like yes and no. Like I'll remember like that right there. You said Manly and that clicked, and I can see it. I can see the footage in there, and I remember it being super crowded when we were there, and everybody's standing everywhere, and it was like claustrophobic, and like it was a lot of people, so I remember the different things like that, but then I don't remember. I just saw I posted a clip of a frontside flip from the Napa Park, and it's like old long hair footage of the early '90s. I rode for Vans, and it was Oblo film. It was around color time, and I didn't remember it. I was like, is that me? Like, I had to look at it so many times. Like, it is me. But it's kind of blurry, old Super 8 looking footage. And I'm like, then I know me. I know my style. And I know it's me. But I was like, I did not have I still to this day don't have any recollection of doing that. I don't remember being at that park and I'm watching footage of it. So there's that side of it where I don't remember anything. But then I remember skating St. Ives on an Element tour and smacking my head. And still to this day can see the kid. If the kid just didn't lift his feet, I wouldn't have hit my face on the concrete and I'd have been fine. But he moved his feet out of the way and my head just hit the concrete under the ledge. And I remember like hitting my head and popping up and just being like, and then getting stitches and whatever, doing all that. But so I have those kind of memories. But as far as being impactful and I don't know. I don't realize that and don't know because we were gone 2 hours later. Do you know what I mean? We've left and went on to another town, or we were only there for a week or something. You know what I mean? But we were traveling, so it's not like we got to hang out and saw any of the conversations afterwards. Because I know how I am when I was a kid. We talk about the demo that came through. That's all we talked about till the next demo came through. Like who was in town and did what. So I see that side of it. So we were already gone and left, and I'm sure people obviously it was an impactful thing. You said that they talk about the tricks they saw and who was cool to them, who wasn't cool to them, and what. So, yeah, I mean, I understand that I've been blessed and lucky enough to have been at a lot of demos where people have had that reaction. Like I've gotten to around, you go anywhere with Tony Hawk, that's ridiculous. Like you a demo with Tony Hawk is a whole other beast than a demo with any other skateboarder. You can go with the best skateboarder that you've ever seen, Eric Costin. Doesn't matter. Like you're not going to get the turnout that you're going to get for a Tony Hawk. It just doesn't compare. Like, and there's some couple moments I went out. I'm like, okay, like, all right, you better what you do today. Don't fall today. Like there's way too many people here. So
well, here's one for you, Kris, and it just goes to show you never know who's watching. Because I was at that '94 demo. And did you know you were the first person I ever seen with an eyebrow piercing? And I just was like, no way. Like he's put like an earring through his eyebrow, and this was before anyone had him.
Funny thing about that eyebrow piercing, we
You remember?
went out on the Gold Coast. We were on the Gold Coast that night. And I was with Kareem, and I forget, Kareem said something to me, and I was like, man, nah, and I took it out. And it wasn't anything, it was something, they were all, I don't know what was going on, but there was like, I knew that people were trying to probably fight that night, like get crazy and drink and go out and be crazy. Like just, there was the energy going on, like everybody was already, whenever we would go out with that many people, like they're getting hammered. Somebody's trying to mess with you. There's something, so somebody's going to get in a fight. Like that was how as the older I got, I was the one that had to start kind of like corralling my team and my friends and people away. But early on, you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you're in another country you're going out to party. You're going out to go off. Like, so we were raging. Yeah. And I remember taking it out. Nah, I'm not wearing this tonight. You guys are getting wild kind of thing. And I got smoked. I got smoked in that eye that night at the bar. And it would have ripped out. I would have been so like, it was, yeah. So I had a little, I don't know what it was, but I remember taking it out and I never put it back in. That was the last time I had it. So I only had it for that short time, like right before I went there. Yeah. I remember being bummed that it closed up. I couldn't put it back in, but I'd only had it for maybe a week or two before I came there. Yeah. There's your eyebrow here.
Story. Yeah. There was a fight culture in Australia back in the 90s for sure. I think it's backed off a lot. Maybe around the world, but it was terrible. In hindsight, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So, man, it's been epic. How you feeling?
Good.
You getting tired? Getting a sore back?
Yeah, I'm always sort of. I'm sitting in the chair with my back on it too. That's why, like a stool.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you too much more, Kris. And I wanted to, get on with your evening with your beautiful family. But I do just want to go a little bit back into your childhood growing up in Florida. Can you just tell everyone like where you grew up in Florida and how do you reflect on your childhood in that area?
Yeah, and I grew up in Pensacola. Well, in the Panhandle, Pensacola is like the farthest west you can go in Florida before you hit Alabama. And it's surrounded by water. There's the beach island, which is an isthmus. And then there's another isthmus in between, and then the bay, and then Pensacola. And I lived on the isthmus in between, so we were surrounded by water. And I have fond memories, like great, like fishing, playing baseball, doing all that, like growing up. And then I think 8th grade, that's when, then all my memories just focused around skating. And then it all went to skating. And like, my main thing was to get to any bigger city than I was at for skate spots. So I was always like wanting to go, but I was 14, 15, so I never really was able to go. And then we moved to Atlanta for 2 years when I was 15, we moved to Atlanta for 2 years. And then I moved back down to Florida and graduated from the high school that I started at. And, so that was cool getting a taste of a big city being from Florida and having hills up in Atlanta because Florida's flat. So that was that's the thing that I remember now. And then coming back, I was like, holy shit, it is flat here. Like there aren't any hills in Florida. Like there's none. So like going to Atlanta and actually having hills and having to learn how to negotiate, like already being good on your skateboard and learning how to ride it, but then everything's a hill. Like, and then you have to really learn how to ride your skateboard. Like I think everybody, if they're going to start skating, should start and at least live where there's some hills and deal with fear and speed sometimes, it's a good measuring stick.
Yeah. And, were you quite close with your family?
Yeah. Yeah. My mom and dad were married until my dad passed. He passed when I was 23. And, but yeah, great family. They were, married, not broken. So I have fond memories of being a kid and my childhood and stuff. So.
Yeah, I had a listener ask, so I had a question from Bill Blankenship asked, he's seen a photo of you on a beach with your father in a magazine once, and he said it looked like a tribute to your father. His question is like, how influential was your father or your mother on your skateboarding?
100%. Without their support, like I wouldn't have become a pro skateboarder. I would have probably quit if it wasn't, not quit, like, but they were the ones who took me to the contest. Like, so quick story, and it'll show where my admiration and where it all comes from, and why I hold my parents on such a high pedestal for what they did. So I was 15. When we moved to Atlanta, and I played baseball. And the whole time, my whole youth as a kid, you pay to play league. You never have to try out. You pay and you play. All my dad wanted, and I made All-Stars every year. Like, I was at the age I was way better at baseball than I ever was at skateboarding at a younger age. You know, I was playing pro baseball. Like, that was my career path. That's what I was doing. Went to baseball camps, player of the week, All-Stars every year. But the one thing, like, and yes, of course, I'm going to make the high school team. That's a no-brainer. But my dad just wanted me to earn it one time. That was his thing. We moved from Pensacola up to Atlanta, and I started a new school, and I just went skating. I lied to my dad, didn't go to tryouts, told him I didn't make the team. And then, like an asshole, I still played baseball that year in the pay-to-play league. And my coach knew that I went to the high school and was like, "Why aren't you playing for the high school? Like, what are you doing? Like, you saw how good I was. What are you doing? Why?" And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I don't know, whatever. I missed tryouts kind of thing. And I just remember I played shortstop, and I remember being out at shortstop, and I was like, looked over at the dugout, looked at the bleachers, and I see my mom and my dad there. And then I see my coach from high school come over and like lean and start talking to the coach. And then I see my coach point to my dad, and the coach hops up and and I'm like, oh, fuck. Because the high school coach is talking to my dad. I told my dad that I tried out and didn't make the team. The coach is talking to my dad, like, why is your son goes to Roswell High? Why isn't your son playing for the team? My dad, and I see my dad just go and stand up in the bleachers. And I was like, so now after that, I don't know, yelled at. When he went off, like pissed, like, what are you doing? You lied to me. And we had never argued ever. Like, we were always, we had the best relationship. He was my best friend, you know, like he'd give me shit and I'd get in trouble, but I was never grounded, nothing. Like, so my parents were my best friends, and I loved them and never had issues, you know, and I never lied to them. I never had to, never needed to. I never had to sneak out or anything. If I was doing anything, I'd just tell my parents, they were, all right, be careful, don't do anything stupid, yada. So that was how I was raised. And I lied to him. I could have just told him I didn't, but I lied to him, and he was super pissed. And that was that year after that was the first year that we were really butting heads. Like, I'd go skating, my grades dropped a little in this and that. It would be blamed on skating. So that was a scapegoat for him with skating. So we were living in Atlanta, in Roswell on the north side. So that was my freshman year. On the sophomore year, we moved down to the south side. And again, like my dad we're still arguing, butting heads. I told my mom, give me a glove. And I talked to the team, talked to everybody. So for like 2 weeks before tryouts, like I was already practicing with the team. I was pretty much on the team, but I didn't tell my dad any of this. Didn't tell him anything. And it was like 2 weeks before my 16th birthday and the Monday before tryouts. And tryouts were on Saturday, and it was Monday. I went skating after school, and I don't know, fell super weird and I broke my elbow on my right arm, my throwing arm. And I had to have surgery, and they put the cast on too tight. So when I came out, they just kept giving me shots of Demerol and knocking me out. And like I was in pain, and so I got sick, and I was in the hospital for like 5 days after surgery. Supposed to have it and then go home. So the whole time I'm in there, like I'm in pain, and they're just knocking me back out. My mom told my dad that what I had done, you know, like, yeah, he heard him say, because my dad was pissed that I broke my throwing arm skating, you know, and I wasn't going to be able to play baseball the same. So his world, you know, he's like, my son, he's not going to be able to do what he's meant to do. So she told him, well, he's been busting his ass. I got him a glove. He's been practicing with the school. He's like got tryouts this weekend. Like, he's told me he's basically on the team. He's just got to go through the thing. He was doing this all for you because he didn't want to be arguing with you anymore. And so the last day, when I finally like woke up and they figured out what was going on, and I was able to sit up and eat and stuff in the hospital, he had sat down, and I remember him going, all right, so I got some good news, and I got some bad news. And I was like, all right, what's that? And he's like, well, the good news, I'll give you the bad news first. Like, you're not going to skate for 6 months. And I was like, all right, well, I figured that. And he's like, the good news is there's a contest when we were living in Atlanta, he's like, there's a contest in Jacksonville at Kona in 7.5 months. So you think you can get ready in a month and a half to go down to that contest? And I was like, I should be able to. And then, a month and a half, 2 months after I came home from surgery and I had the cast on, I was already skating with my cast on. That's why, if you look at photos of me or look at footage, look at my right arm. I always hold it with my thumb, and it's because I had for almost a year, I had an elbow cast when I skated, and my thumb was out. And that's the one that there's one thing I hate about my style now. I can see a cast on me when I skate. My arm was like, wow. Anytime I do a trick, wherever my arm's at, you can always just draw an elbow cast on me anytime you want, whenever you see a photo of me.
Okay. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check it out now.
Yeah. But after that, when I woke up, he was my biggest supporter. Took me to every contest, took me everywhere. Was at the NSA finals when I got second and turned pro for Dogtown. He was there. We went to Europe. My parents came to, they were there. They made it happen. If it was when I moved to California when I turned 18, I'm like, yeah, I'm out. No, you're not. My dad moved from Pensacola to Birmingham so he could work a job to be able to afford us to move. Me, my mom, my sister, we moved to California. My dad stayed back for a year to work the job until he transferred out to California and he came out. So they bent over backwards for me just to ride my skateboard. So it was a weird, and they weren't in a corny way. It wasn't I know Tony Hawk got shit on all over the time because of his dad being part of the NSA, and there was a whole thing about that. I never had that with my dad. My dad was in it 100%. Everybody knew him, and all the pro skateboarders, all the older guys. My dad was good friends with Bill Danforth. We met him in the demo when I was young, and my dad, they'd go and drink scotch and beer and stuff during the demo, and I'd be just hanging out. And so I was lucky to have him. And so, yeah, for anybody to talk, in that time, parents weren't behind you in skating. You were doing something, and I was going that way until my mom told my dad what I was trying to do, and then I got hurt, and then I never looked back, and I didn't have to because they were always there,
See, that's progressive parenting, and I mean, what an amazing influence on your parenting that is.
I mean, I don't know. It's weird because I hear so many people talk about they had a shitty relationship with their father, and they want to be the change and don't want to do, they don't want to. So and that's their motivation for being a great father. And my motivation to be a great father is to emulate my dad because he was a great father. You know what I mean? So it's I don't have any I don't have any negative of I probably the only thing I carry with me probably is just some maybe unresolved guilt from him passing, things like that, but nothing of my dad did this to me when I was a kid, and I have this issue because of that. I had a bad childhood. No, my dad was my baseball coach, was there for me. He was there, he was there. He was very, very involved with what I was doing, and it was funny because when I started skating, he didn't know shit about skateboarding at all, but he just knew people and he knew sports, and he knew he could watch me and tell me what to do. And I used to get pissed at him and be like, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. But he was spot on. Don't flip your board on that one. Just push past that ramp. And go faster. Stop being a little bitch. Go faster. And so it was
is that why you go fast?
Probably.
That's always that's what always drew me to you is just how fast you do everything. You'd be on flat ground pushing as hard as you can.
That has to do with my senior year being on Pensacola Beach, skating the parking lot that we skated all the time. It's the boardwalk parking lot, curbs everywhere, manual pads and stuff. Flat as a board. Watching Julian Stranger skating in the Santa Cruz video, going down the hill, and he's just and these are the little nuances now that I look back on, and I look on skateboarding, is when you carve into or down a curb cut, and get speed. Like if you can do that and get speed without making it look, there's a beauty in that, And he would just go down the street and wiggle his trucks, and he was flying because he's bombing hills. There's no hills in Florida, so I would make a joke, not a joke. But I would tell my friends, I'm like, all right, every flat ground trick I learn, once I make it 5 times in a row, I'd flip it, and then that was the game. Like until you make it 5 times in a row, you can't move on. Like that was in my head, I would do. So if it was a 360 flip, I'd have to do 360 flip, 5 of them in a row. And as soon as I did 5 of them in a row, I would have to do it and push as fast as I could. No lie. 6, 7 tries, full pucks. And as soon as I put my foot back on the board, do a 3 flip. And I would eat. Wow. I ate so much shit. Like that's how I would do my flat ground. I would push as fast as I would go. And I would do stupid stuff. I would take my top bushing off and put my trucks on, so my trucks would just waggle around and go as fast.
Well, like day one.
What's that?
Like day one.
Like day one's kind of style, yeah. Like just completely wiggly woggly and just go and do slappies as fast as I could go. Like push 10 times into a slappy and just grind. And like that was a thing that I had to do. And then I didn't do that when I started filming and skating, and then it just became part of my skating was skating fast. So just everything looked better going faster. Like even the falls.
I think they do. Yeah. People loved it. I loved it. Everyone and other people I've spoke to love it. So, but I just want to say one more thing about your father, Kris. I really love hearing that story, especially as a father myself. I think that. Yeah, I hear that narrative a lot from people like, oh, I'm affected by my father. I was impacted. I'm traumatized by this and that. But, like it doesn't have to, that's not the norm. Like it's just really refreshing to actually hear just that admiration, that admiration.
It does happen other ways, like.
So, yeah, man. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah, of course.
I really love that. Yeah. Well, listen, brother, I feel like I could talk to you all day, but we've already been on for a long time, including our technical.
Yes, we've had a good one.
And I thank you for your patience there.
Dude, no worries.
Listen, I ask all guests to come to the podcast with like a cause they want to support or advocate for. And what I do is 10% of all Patreon income every month will be dispersed to the causes that my guests raise. So what have you got for us today?
I want to grind for life. Grind for life. Yeah, especially now that I'm in Florida, in St. Pete, they do a lot of the regional contests that come through town. And every time, whether it's a spot or the park here, like Grind for Life has a booth, and he's always out there, and he's there. He's a gnarly skateboarder. He's about skateboarding, loves it, and it gives back to cancer research. And like, every time I see him at an event, I want to do more for him, and that's just naturally what comes to mind. Who I want to help out.
Amazing. All right, so there's a link to Grind for Life in this episode's show notes. So if you scroll down, you can click on it, you can donate, you can see how you can be involved. And you can find this episode on terriblehappytalks.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and a few other platforms. But whatever platform you like to listen on, it always helps if you follow and subscribe. And it just gives me the opportunity to extend the messages of legends like Mr. Kris Markovich.
I'm greatly appreciated. Thank you.
The other thing I guess I just want to finish on, Kris, is like you seem like a very content, inspired human right now. And I just want to know, like, what's next for you? Or is this the next?
No, there's more.
If actually, are you filming a video part?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm meaning. Yeah, no, I have a video part coming out. I think, hopefully, I just want people to watch it and be like, damn, like, okay, all right, like that's all I want.
People are.
I just want want people to know, like, I don't have anything to prove, but I do to myself. So I'm gonna go as hard as I can for this. You know what I mean? And
Still.
Yeah. And it's why not? If not, like, I'm not to that point yet where I want to go and just. I don't want to. All right. I'm not to the point of going to the skate park with a cruiser board. I'm not there yet. I'm just not. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think you'll ever be there, to be honest.
Yeah, no, maybe not. I don't know. I just feel like I know that there's tricks that I want to do and tricks that I can still do that people aren't. You don't see them all the time, so why not do them? It doesn't matter that this body's 50 years old, as long as I don't look like it, and I don't look stupid, like I'm slow trying to. I don't know. I look at my footage, and that's the point of what I was talking about earlier, doing it right. Like as long as I do the tricks right, it doesn't matter how old I am. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe I may lose a little power in it, but the technique and the skill is there to do it. And not all the time. Like, I don't have the consistency. Like, I know my body. I have a small spurts when I can use my energy, and I'm very conscious about it. But like I said, the consistency's not there. But I can still do tricks that like snap back and they work. You know what I mean? Like
you love a battle, don't you? You love being in a battle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing. I like the moments where I know I'm getting close on some deep down level. I know it is, and I hold on to it. When I'm about to pass out, or I'm like, can't do it, I don't have anything left, my legs are shaking, I know that's when I'm going to make the next one. Like, I know it. You know what I mean? And it's like, because I've done it so many times. Like, when I've been bleeding bloody, I can't walk, and like, all right, one more, and I just get up there and just be like, oh, you're already going to hurt tomorrow. I'm already sore. So just stop just stop and go. Just and then you just do it one more time, and then you make it.
But you love that feeling. You love that feeling of being sore when you've battled a trick and you've landed it. There's no better feeling.
Yeah, there's not, like, nobody can take that from you. You just like went through, like, my buddy DJ just said this to me the other day, and it made so much sense. It made me laugh, and it made so much sense. I was trying the trick of him, the cab back nose blunt that I was trying in the park. During that, he was there, and I was like laying down, like at the end of I had already stopped like 4 times, and I was about to go for one more go, and I was about to stand up on my last little go, and he was like, what did he say? He's like, in another dimension right now, you are slaying a dragon. And I was like, that is awesome. Like, the way you said it, like, you're just going to battle. Like, you just slayed a dragon. Like, you're like in another dimension. And I was like, you're right. Like, as much energy as I put out and like went through and went for it, like, who knows what repercussions that went out. But yeah,
I can see that. I can see the NFT.
Right. But yeah, I just thought it was really cool how he said that. And that's like, there's something satisfying about. Because a lot of times when I start the battle, I don't know if I can make the trick. Like, a lot of I know I can. I'm like, when I'm sitting there and I'm really thinking about it, but when I really put it to, I'm like, damn, that's going to be really to land this way and come around. It's going to be really hard, and then want to work and get close. And then it's like, okay. And then boom, boom, boom. And then it happens. And then it goes, and it's like, the patterns, and it becomes familiar, even though it sucks and you're in pain, you're hurting, you're bleeding. But once you get through and you're done, like, no one can take that from you, what you just did.
But that point of where you get that little taste of like, hang on, this could happen. Is it safe to say that then you don't feel the pain anymore, and you don't care about the blood and how tired you are, because it's like you've had a little taste and now you're all in. There's no going back. You're either going to land it or you're going to break yourself. Is that what you're sort of saying?
Oh, you feel the pain. Every bit of it hurts. Every bit of it sucks. But you're in it. You know what I mean? And you have to do it. But it doesn't go away where you're like, all right, it almost makes it worse. Like, fuck, I just got that close. And now I got it. Like, so sometimes it always happens where within the first 3 tries, you land bolts and whip out, or you step off, or you just didn't think you were going to get that close, and you're like, oh. And in your head, like, oh, that was 5th try. Now I know it's going to be a good hour before I even get back to that try. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's just that, I don't know. If somebody had a mic on me to hear my inner thoughts while I'm filming, if that's possible, oh man, like, the shit that goes on in here when I'm in the middle of one of those,
But you're still surprising yourself. So you're landing tricks that you didn't think you could land. Yeah.
Yeah. That 270 nose blunt that was on the 9 Club. Like, I've done that trick before on ledges, and I've done it on things like small curb stuff. So I know the motion. I've done it on like alley oop on quarter pipe. I've done it on transition. So it's there. But the day that's a banana peel, that thing that I was doing on. It's so slippery. And I just did a scoop ollie, and I was trying to get it around, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. And then in my head, I was like, all right, it's literally, you don't have to go any higher because it's a flat ledge. So if I just do a back 180 nose grind, like I'm going to do that, and then at last second just push it in, like, because you're only going a turn till it goes into it if you're not landing in a grind. So
yeah,
once I pictured that, the next try, it went right around into it. And I was like, I think it might definitely film this next one because it feels like it's, I might be able to do it soon. And then I was riding away. Like, it happened the next try. And that was like 4th, 5th try maybe. So that never happens for me. I'm usually in it. That was like one of the easiest battles I've had. So that wasn't even a battle. That was just like, it just happened. But
love it, man. It was right. Eldie's pick of the week. Do you, in your new video part coming out, are you in the streets?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting in the streets?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's skate. You're gonna have skate park footage in your video part?
Yeah, for sure. Only because there's because it's Campbell Park that I skate every day. Is
that in St. Petersburg?
Yeah, St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
There's just tricks that are set up here that aren't. There's no other setups like it. So. Or I'm not going to be able to. It's not going to be very accessible for me to go find another obstacle like that. And there's certain tricks that I'm doing and wanting to do on them that are, in my opinion, like no, I've never seen anybody do them. So it's funny because I like to fancy myself as being. I've done a few things at the park that I like and are pretty hard. But then like Jamie Foy and what's his name, Felipe Gustavo came here for the Red Bull thing and. Yeah, just watching them skate the park, I was like they're just goofing around, like just murdering the place. Like it was a whole other level. So like I look at my skating on, and then when the real skaters come and real, like it's different.
What do you mean?
It's different.
What do you mean when the real? What do you mean when the real?
I don't mean that to like. I'm not jumping on the tallest ledge there. I'm not, but. Jamie Foy kickflip frontside 50-50 it like it was nothing. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I mean. I could do a kickflip 50-50. I don't think I have the legs now to get. I don't think I ever had the legs to get a kickflip 50-50 as high as that is. Like that's just it's a different type of skateboarding that they learned to do. Because the ledge here, Campbell, it's shoulder. I mean, it's like chest high. You have a bank to get to it, but it's real.
I was going to say, is there a bank?
And those dudes, like him and Felipe, kickflip crook on it, kickflip front 50-50, but they do them like it's nothing. There was no. If they messed up, it was because somebody got in their way getting there. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they had to try that trick over and over. Like it was dialed and it was there. So that's what I mean. Like there's a whole other level.
Yeah, I know.
And I say the real ones. I mean the dudes that are like making their living out of it right now, of traveling, touring.
Exactly.
Shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they are on another level. And,
right. And see, that's the one thing that I think I have that I've always had, maybe that a lot of dudes don't. Like, I'm doing this. I'm not living the dream, like midlife crisis, trying to hold on. Like, I'm still just doing what I want to do, having fun doing it, like.
It's obvious.
I don't know, man.
I think it from what I've seen on your look. I mean, I'm going off Instagram clips, but it translates in your Instagram clips. It does. It translates into a man having a lot of fun, but really just because I guess I've followed you for the last 20, 30 years of watching you skateboard. I just feel like I'm just watching someone who is just pure skateboarder and just personifies that. And it's like, I could just tell that there's no way you could ever stop now. It's just so part of you. And
I mean,
and that in itself, it's like living art in a way without sounding too, I don't know if that's a cringy thing to say, but I see that.
Nah, it's dope.
Yeah, man. I love it. So last question.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your sponsors. So you got new sponsors at 50 years of age. Like, are you kidding me? Again, like what are you like? Who would have thought that? So who are you riding for right now?
I'm riding for Etnies skateboards. Pretty amazing, like weird full circle for that. Like in 2018, they hit me up to do an artist to do some stuff for them art wise. So I did a graphic, like 3 or 4 board series for them back in 2018, and then in November they reached out again they wanted to do another graphic, and then at that point, that's when they started talking about actually having me on the team and have a pro model instead of just having art boards. So that was like the first legit, like, okay, I've got a board sponsor. And then after that, I started riding for Silver trucks and FKD bearings and Cloud9 grip tape and Anchor Skate Supply and the biggest little skateboard company. It's a hardware company out of Reno. So,
right.
Yeah, just it feels weird now, like looking at that now, like back in the day I had all these sponsors, and now I just feel like a NASCAR or something now, you know, I'm back like another one. But it's rad to have the support, and I'm blessed to even be a part of things like this. So it's cool. Like I take pride putting the stickers on my board now. Like it's like these dudes are not taking a chance, but these dudes are showing love to a 50-year-old man. They don't need to. There's so many people that they could be giving their product to, you know, and like they're letting me have it. Like that's awesome. Like and letting me have it for me now, and not letting me have it for what I did from before. You know what I mean? Like that's the coolest thing. Like I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day. Like I saw it on a commercial of something or some meme or something where they were like, somebody said something like, your 18-year-old you be pissed at you now or whatever, something like that. Like I started thinking about that, and like I think the 18-year-old me would be psyched on the 50-year-old me. You know what I mean? Like, because I know, like, I have friends that I look at and I'm like, dude, your 20-year-old you would whoop the shit out of you right now. You're an asshole compared to what you used to be. You know what I mean? Like they totally went left and went the opposite of like of what they had always been about, kind of thing. You know, so. I don't know if that is anything to be happy about, but I think my 18-year-old me would be pretty cool with who I am.
Wow, man. I've never thought of it like that. What an interesting perspective. Let me think about my 18-year-old me. Yeah, no, I think I'd like me. I think I'd like me.
Yeah. But I mean, not like, I mean, if you had to get some job that you really didn't want, and you had to change. I mean, maybe you had to for some reason, and you had to get a cubicle job or a 9 to 5, like something like that you just hated, you know. And years later, that became what you did. You know what I mean? Like at 18, you would have never let yourself get it. You would think I would never do that, and then you look at yourself when you're 50, and you've had this shitty job you didn't like. You know that you should have years before it got too deep into it. You should have seen that you didn't like that and been like, or you didn't want to do that for the rest of your life. You don't want to do that for the rest of your life. You shouldn't do it. Don't get caught doing that. You know, if there's something in your life you don't like, you need to change it. You know, it's not going to change on its own. You have to be the one to do it. So might as well do it.
I've talked a lot about that concept on here, and I'm a little bit torn. Because I'm very much of like, do what you love and you got to be happy. However, like I've had sort of people talk to me about it and say, well, is it also noble that person sort of sacrificed to provide for their family? I mean,
absolutely,
the other side of
absolutely, yeah.
You know, and it's like they grinded it out at a job because they were able to, you know, put their children through college and things like that. So I respect that aspect of it as well. However, I do believe
not like and I don't want to sound like that was a negative thing, but I do hear I hear it more often than not about like, do what you love, because if you don't want to look back on your life and do something you hated for 50 years. And it's like, well, yeah, but, you know, then you got the scenario of having to provide for your family and do it. Then, I mean, if it came down to it, I'm working at McDonald's, you know?
Yeah.
There's ever a time when I have to do, you know, I'm going to do what has to be done to provide for my family regardless.
Absolutely.
It's not. There's no, prideful, but that goes. There's no. I'm not going to be. You know, I'll work at McDonald's if I have to.
Yeah. So you're sort of talking about you can make realistic adjustments in terms of your happiness. I still think that. Like, and for me, adjustments I'm making are maybe the people I associate with, and maybe the decisions I'm making around my health, things like that. And yeah, trying to be, I guess, at my age, as practical as I can. You know, there is times where I just want to burn my life down and just literally, you know, walk away from my job and things like that. But
Yeah.
I've been thinking maybe it is a part of being in your 40s too. It's like,
I mean, I think you get to a point with when you are getting older, you just want to have good people in your life on every level.
Is that how you feel?
No, that's how I feel now. And I feel that I'm finally there. Like, I mean, everyone that I deal with in my daily life, that's my reality. There's not one person that is a dead weight in the sense of energy or attitude or anything, or they're doing sketchy stuff or they're in lame things. Like everybody that I mean, you had Ricky Roberts on your podcast, and that's one of the people I skate. Like that's the type of human I have in my life now. And if that's a reflection of who's in my life, like that's, yeah, I'm definitely in a, you know, if I have types of people like that in my life, I'm way better placed in my life than I've ever been. You know, like everyone in my reality is good. So
that's so good. Do you think you're getting better at identifying the
absolutely,
darker energies?
Absolutely. I can call bullshit on you before I really should, you know, like, and I don't, but I'm like, oh, I'm on it. All right.
Yeah, man. Oh, man.
I mean, it's funny when you can see somebody and you can just tell by their gait and their movement, you know, like, all right.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to shy away. And it's like, and if you're around them for any length of time, you know, whether like, you can tell, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's why that feeling came from. I don't know. And a lot of it just energy. You tell people's energy.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've got one more little, can I ask you one more little question?
That's cool.
I know, like, I'm really conscious of time, but I mean, I don't set a time limit usually, but I'm just, there was a docu-series on the Berrics, I think it was called Keep On Pushing, years ago. Do you remember that? Do you remember film? And you had a partner. There it is. What? No way. Keep on pushing. Yeah.
It's my buddy Ricky. My best friend Ricky did Keep On Pushing.
Ricky.
Edenball.
Ricky. He's a legendary photographer, and I think he filmed that documentary.
Yeah.
It was like a short film on a red camera. On those amazing cameras, you know. And he had all these images of legendary skaters pushing through the streets and just emphasizing just the way they push, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you were one of them. And I just wanted to say I loved that.
That's awesome.
And thanks. And
I'll let him know that. I talk to him all the time, and I'm going to tell him to watch the podcast. He sent me this not too long ago. He started making them, and that's his.
No way, dude. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he moved to California. Like, we grew up in Pensacola together, skated together. Like, we're childhood friends. So, like, seeing him do what he's doing, it's awesome. Like, knowing where we came from, it's the best.
Really? I watched his podcast on the Nine Club. Isn't it the Nine Club as well? Have those guys hit you up to be on the Nine Club yet?
Yeah. I'm doing it on the next month, into June.
Yeah, no way, dude.
Yeah. That's another thing that's what we're working on. So that's...
You heard it.
We're lining up the trip right now. I think I'm leaving like the 25th of June. I'll be out there for a week. I'm going to do the Nine Club and then try to go film some stuff at the Barracks and then just link up with filmers and photographers out there and make the rounds. And it'll be like, I haven't been out there in like, I think like 2 years now, almost 2 years since I've been back to California. So it'll be a little weird. I haven't been back there in a while, but yeah, it'll be good.
You never thought about basing yourself in California full time? Like over the years, never thought about staying out there?
Well, no, I lived out there it took me damn near 20 years to get away from there. Like I've lived I moved to San Diego in 1990, and then until 2 years ago, I pretty much lived in San Diego for that 30-year span with short stints in, Orange County. I lived in New York for a year. I lived in Atlanta for a year, and I moved different places. But been in California and tried to get away, just tried to get out, and then never did, and then finally moved, and this is the longest that I've lived away from there. And I don't see myself moving back there. I just don't. Like Florida's the dream.
It's got everything you need.
Yeah.
It's home. All right, brother. It's been epic, and I think we'll leave it there, hey?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kris Markovich, everyone. You.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.